Okay, so in the last lecture we had a discussion about idempotent sets and nilpotent sets, right? Idempotent elements, idempotent elements, and nilpotent elements. What were idempotent elements? So R is a ring, and you take an element from R, okay, and you get x square is equals to x, okay. So if this happens, then x is said to be an idempotent element, and the set of all idempotent element gives you an idempotent set. What were the nilpotent elements? Nilpotent elements. So again, if R is a ring and you take an element from R, if x to the power n becomes 0, okay, x to the power n becomes 0 for some natural number, then x is said to be nilpotent, okay. Also I had said how to count idempotent elements. So if you have a Zn ring, then the number of idempotent element will be given as 2 to the power d, where d is the number of prime divisor number of prime divisors of n, okay. For example, if you have z4, okay, if you have z4, the idempotent elements of z4 are 0 and 1. The idempotent elements of z4 are 0 and 1. And if you check by this, verify by this particular formula, you will see that 4 can be written as 2 square. So d is equals to 1 because it has only one prime divisor. So 2 to the power 1 is 2, and you have only 2 idempotent elements. Is that clear, guys? How to find the number of idempotent element of a Zn ring? Okay. Acha. Suppose suppose um, you have a ring Zn, let's say, okay, and this n is square free, and this n is square free. What are square free numbers? So prime factors do not repeat, okay. In a square free number, the prime factors do not repeat, okay. For example, let's say 30. So 30 can be written as 2 times 3 times 5. So no prime factor is repeating. So example, let's now see. Suppose you have 60. So 60 can be written as 2 square 3 5, right? So here you have one repeating prime factor. So this is square free. This is not square free. Yeah. So if you have a ring Zn where n is square free, then the only nilpotent element of Zn will be 0, is 0, okay. So any Zn ring with n being square free is having only one nilpotent element, and that is 0. Is it clear? That is 0. Acha, this much is clear, I guess. Acha, what can be the nilpotent elements of an integral domain? Okay, so the nilpotent elements of an integral domain are 0 and 1, okay. Let's prove this. So suppose you take R as an integral domain. Clear? You take R as an integral domain, and let's say x belongs to R, okay. Let's say x belongs to R. Acha, if x belongs to R, and let's say this x is an idempotent element, so we just need to find the values of x, right? So x is an idempotent element. Now let's say you have, since x is idempotent, so we can write that x square is equals to x. From here we can write x square minus x is equals to 0. From here we can write x times x minus 1 is equals to 0. And from here we can write x is equals to 0 or x is equals to 1. So the idempotent elements of an integral domain R is given by 0 and 1. Is given, I mean, the idempotent elements are 0 and 1. Is that clear? Is that clear? Okay. A non-zero idempotent can't be nilpotent. This is a very, a very important result of uh, the concept of idempotent and nilpotent. That that okay. So the result is that, so this is a very important observation. That is, a non-zero, a non-zero idempotent, a non-zero idempotent can't be nilpotent. A non-zero idempotent can't be nilpotent. Why am I saying this? So suppose you have, see, x square is equals to x, let's say. So from here what you will get, x cube is equals to x square into x square is x itself, so this becomes x square, and again x square is x, so this becomes x. So in this way, if you kind of raise x to any integral power, any natural power or any integral power, you might say, it will always give you x. So only if x is 0, this will become 0. So only if x is 0, x will behave as a nilpotent value, otherwise it won't be nilpotent. Okay, so any non-zero idempotent can't be nilpotent. Is that clear? Is that clear? Got it? Okay. Yeah, and integral domains will have only 0 and 1 as the idempotent value. Okay, got it? So I guess this much is clear, right? Idempotent, nilpotent, this concept is clear. Okay. So now we will be talking about, I mean that we are gonna enter a very important phase of ring theory, which is the discussion about subrings and ideals. Okay. So subrings and ideals. So what is a subring? What is an ideal? In group theory, you people have already studied groups, subgroups, right? So kind of similar to that, a little bit of difference is there. Okay, okay, okay. And so before moving on to subrings and ideals, let us do a few things more. Okay, then we will be moving on to subrings and ideals. Okay, let us learn a few more concepts. Then we will be talking about subrings and ideals. Let us talk a bit more about units. Okay, it is important. Okay, we are gonna start subrings and ideals from the next lecture. Okay, let's say R1 and R2 are two rings. Okay, they are two rings. Clear? They are two rings. Okay. Now, now, suppose I say that R1 ADT R2 has zero divisors. Has zero divisors. So will that imply that R1 and R2 are having zero divisors? R1 and R2 have zero divisors. Have zero divisors. So we can do this using a simple example. Okay, we have already used this example. See, suppose you take R1. Okay, R1 and R2. Let's say you take R1 and R2. So we know that, or let's say you simply take R plus R, or R additive R. Okay, okay, R additive R. So see, uh, the set of I mean the ring of real numbers, it is an integral domain. Okay, so it has no zero divisors. It has no zero divisors, but this will have a zero divisor. 1 comma 0, 0 comma 1 will give you 0 0. Okay, so our additive R is having 0 0, that is a zero divisor, 1 0 and 0 1, but R individually has no zero divisor, so this is not always correct. Okay, so this is a false statement. This is a false statement. In case of units, it will be true. In case of units, if you talk about units, then this will be true. Okay, if you talk about units, that is, unit of R1 additive R2 exists if unit of R1 and unit of R2 exists. Okay, this statement is correct. For unit of R1 additive R2 to exist, you need unit of R1 and unit of R2 to exist. Is that clear? The reason is unit of R1 additive R2 additive R3, and if you go on doing this, okay, and each individual R1 R2 are rings, and this is written as union of R1 additive union of R2 additive and so on till union of, sorry, I mean not union, sorry, unit, sorry, that was a slip of tongue, unit of Rn. Okay, unit of Rn. Clear? So for this to exist, each individual units must exist. Got it? Clear? Okay. Okay. Got it? Talking about those nilpotent values, as we were saying. So I had said that any Zn ring, if you have, if n is square free, then the nilpotent value is nilpotent value is 0, right? Nilpotent value is 0. Nilpotent element is 0. Clear? It has only one nilpotent value. Okay, what is the number of nilpotent elements Zn has? Number of nilpotent elements. Number of nilpotent elements. So number of nilpotent elements we will get by n over p times q times r, so on, where n is pa times qb times rc and so on. So these are prime factors. P, Q, R are prime factors. So n divided by the prime factors to raise to the power 1. Clear? Clear? That will give you the number of nilpotent elements. Now it is obvious that if n is square free, then n by p, q, r and so on will give you 1. And so 0 is the only nilpotent value it is having. I mean, it is verified. It is kind of verified. Okay? Clear? Okay. So in this way you can find the number of nilpotent elements. Clear? Yes, suppose I ask you a question. Suppose I ask you a question that uh, in the ring, quotient ring, this is the equation x square equals to 1 has exactly two solutions. Has exactly two solutions. Okay, and true or false. Okay, you can pause and try it on your own. So see, we know that Z, this quotient group, is isomorphic to Z8, right? Z over Zn is isomorphic to, this was a symbol, right? Zn. Okay, so Z8, it is isomorphic to Z8. Clear? So we can write this as Z8. Zx. So Zx will have elements as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Just verify it. So 0 won't do it, 1 will do obviously, 2 won't do it, 3 will do obviously, 4 won't do, 5 will do, 7 also will do. So you are having 4 solutions. So this is false. Clear? Clear? Okay. So now we move on to a new topic, which is also a very important topic, and you need to carefully listen to what I say when I will be teaching this topic. So now we will talk about units of a polynomial. Units of a polynomial. Okay, 1 minute, guys. 1 minute. Yeah. So units of a polynomial. Okay. So what is the polynomial of a ring? Okay. What is the polynomial of a ring that you first need to understand? So suppose you have a ring R. So suppose you have a ring R. R is a ring you have. So Rx is given as the ring polynomial of a ring. Polynomial of a ring, which is basically the collection of all polynomials, the collection of all polynomials in X with coefficients from R, with coefficients from R. Okay, so the collection of all the polynomials with integral coefficients or integer coefficients rather, is the ring polynomial of the ring Z plus dot. Okay, so Z plus dot is a ring. So any polynomial ax square plus bx plus c, okay, belongs to the Zx polynomial ring. Okay, Zx polynomial ring. This will also form a ring. Okay, Zx polynomial ring when a, b, and c belong to Z. Okay, in the same manner, suppose you have x cube minus root 2 x square plus 2 by 7. So here you are having real coefficients. Okay, so this will belongs to the Rx ring. Okay, ring polynomial of this ring of real numbers. Okay, similarly, if you have x cube minus 1 plus I x plus 3i, this will belong to the complex set. This will also eventually belong to the complex set because real numbers are belonging to complex rings. Okay, basically what is happening, I'm telling you, just keep this in mind, then you will easily understand. Okay, so this is your complex ring of polynomials. Then you have the real ring of polynomials. Okay, then you have the rational ring of polynomials, and inside you have the integer ring of polynomials. Okay, what is the reason you already know, because this is C, then you have R, then you have Q, and then you have Z. Right, right. So C, R, Q, and Z. So that's why. Okay, so Zx will eventually, so anything, if fx is a polynomial which belongs to Zx, it will eventually belong to Rx, Qx, and Cx. If any function that is a polynomial will belong to Rx, it will eventually belong to Cx. If anything belongs to rational polynomials, then it will eventually belong to Rx and Cx. Is it clear? Ring polynomial. Ring polynomial is basically this collection of all polynomials formed from the coefficients of some particular ring. Is it clear? Is it clear to how to find the ring of, sorry, unit of any ring polynomial? So it is given like this, that if R is some ring, or rather R is some integral domain, R is some integral domain, then you the unit of the ring polynomial of R is given as the unit of R, is given as the unit of R. Okay, for example, what is the u of Z? It is given as the unit of z. What is the unit of z? 1 and minus 1. What is the unit of z? 1 and minus 1. Clear? Clear? Okay. So this much is clear. Achha, this thing you already know, that if you have R as a field, okay, if you have R as a field, then every non-zero element of R is invertible. That means if R is a field, then unit of R is simply R minus 0. Okay, this keep in mind. Obviously keep this in mind. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we often use this symbol, this as R star, only if this is a field. Only if this is a field. Okay, for example for example unit of this set of rationals will be rational star, that is q minus 0. Okay, if you have integer modulo p is prime, this will also give you zp star, zp subtracting it, eliminating 0 from it. Okay. Acha, what will be the unit of, let's say, what will be the unit of mm, z3 additive z6 additive z9. Okay, z3 additive z6 additive z9, what will be the unit of this? Okay, so let's see. So we can write this like this, right? Z3 additive unit of z6 additive unit of z9. What will be the unit of z3? 3 is prime. 3 is prime. So 3 is prime. So every element of zp is invertible except 0. Right. So what are you left with? 1 and 2. Right, 1 and 2 you will get. So here you will have 1 and 2. Right. Z6 what you will have as unit? Z6. So here you will have 5, you will have, right, 5. Yeah, unit of z6 you can just find the mu of 6, right? So here you will have 1 and 5, and here you will have 9 you have, so you have 1 2 4 5, then you have 6, you won't take 6 7 8, right? This will give you 1 2 4 5 7 8. Clear? Clear? Is it clear? So let this lecture be up to this much, guys. In the next lecture I will start with subrings. So meet you guys in the next lecture.